Okay.
Keep your hand up.
Okay, then just leave.
Hang on.
All right, just leave then.
In 1976, a dark film arrived in theaters and changed cinema forever. Taxi Driver was not just another crime drama. It was a haunting portrait of loneliness in a restless city. What audiences did not expect was how deeply the movie would shape the lives of the actors inside it. Some of them became legends, others struggled with fame, and a few disappeared from Hollywood almost completely. But here is what most people do not know. That the real lives of this cast turned out to be just as dramatic as the story on screen. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe and like the video, because the journey you are about to hear might surprise you. Robert De Niro, Travis Bickle. When Robert De Niro stepped into the role of Travis Bickle, he was only 33 years old. At the time, he was already respected for his intense performances. But no one expected the quiet actor from New York to create one of the most unforgettable characters in film history. Travis Bickle was a lonely Vietnam veteran who drove a taxi through the sleepless nights of New York City. His famous line, "You talkin' to me," became one of the most quoted moments in movie history. The scene was not even in the original script. De Niro improvised it during filming. What happened next shocked everyone. That improvised moment became cinematic legend. But the real story is even more surprising. To prepare for the role, De Niro actually worked as a real taxi driver in New York. He drove night shifts and picked up passengers across the city to understand the life of a cab driver. After Taxi Driver, his career exploded. He starred in masterpieces like Raging Bull, Goodfellas, and later reunited with director Martin Scorsese many times. But fame also brought challenges. De Niro became known for disappearing into his characters. He gained massive weight for roles. He isolated himself during filming, yet audiences loved him for that dedication. Today, Robert De Niro is in his 80s and still acting. His estimated net worth is believed to be around $500 million. But the role that made him unforgettable will always be Travis Bickle, a lonely man staring into a mirror, asking a question the world still remembers. Jodie Foster, Iris. When audiences first saw Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver, they could hardly believe she was only 12 years old. She played Iris, a streetwise young runaway caught in a dangerous world far beyond her years. Her performance shocked viewers. Iris was tough yet vulnerable, wise yet painfully young. Foster delivered the role with maturity that stunned critics. But here is what most people do not know. Because of her age, the production used an older stand-in for certain scenes. A psychologist was also hired to ensure the young actress understood the emotional weight of the story without being exposed to material she was too young to process. What happened next changed her life forever. After Taxi Driver, she continued acting while also focusing on education. In a move that surprised Hollywood, she attended Yale University and graduated with honors in literature. Her career later flourished with films like The Silence of the Lambs, which earned her an Academy Award. But the real story is even more surprising. Foster eventually became not only a respected actress, but also a director and producer. She carefully chose roles that challenged her rather than chasing fame. Today, Jodie Foster is in her 60s and remains one of Hollywood's most respected performers. Her estimated net worth is around $100 million, yet many fans still remember the moment she first appeared on screen in Taxi Driver, a fearless young performer whose talent was impossible to ignore. Cybill Shepherd, Betsy. Before appearing in Taxi Driver, Cybill Shepherd was already known as a successful model. She had also gained attention after starring in The Last Picture Show. But in Taxi Driver, she played a very different character. Betsy was elegant, confident, almost untouchable. She worked for a political campaign and seemed like the perfect woman in Travis Bickle's lonely imagination. Shepherd was 26 years old during filming. Her character represented something Travis could never truly reach, and that contrast made their scenes unforgettable. But here is what most viewers never noticed. Director Martin Scorsese intentionally filmed Betsy in bright light and soft framing. Travis, on the other hand, was surrounded by shadows. The visual difference symbolized how distant their worlds really were. After Taxi Driver, Shepherd's career had ups and downs. She appeared in several films, but later found massive success on television. Her role in the series Moonlighting alongside Bruce Willis became hugely popular during the 1980s. But the real story is even more surprising. Shepherd later revealed she struggled with Hollywood pressures and personal challenges. She eventually stepped back from the spotlight for periods of time, Today, Cybill Shepherd is in her 70s and occasionally appears in television and independent films. Her estimated net worth is around $40 million. Yet her role as Betsy remains frozen in cinematic history. A woman seen through the eyes of a man slowly losing control. Harvey Keitel, Matthew Sport Higgins. When Harvey Keitel appeared in Taxi Driver, he was 36 years old and already respected among serious actors. But his role as Matthew Higgins, better known as Sport, pushed him into darker territory than ever before. Sport was the manipulative figure controlling Iris. You had the young runaway played by Jodie Foster. The character was unsettling, charismatic, yet deeply disturbing. Keitel brought a strange confidence to the role that made audiences uncomfortable in the best possible way. But here is what most people don't know. Keitel helped shape the character himself. He collaborated closely with director Martin Scorsese and writer Paul Schrader to give Sport a distinctive personality. His flashy clothing, strange swagger, and unsettling charm were partly his own creative ideas. What happened next shocked everyone. Instead of being typecast forever as villains, Keitel built a long and respected career across many genres. He later appeared in powerful films like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. The real story is even more surprising. For decades, Keitel balanced mainstream cinema with independent films and international projects. Directors admired his fearless intensity and emotional depth. However, today, Harvey Keitel is in his 80s and still working in film and television. His estimated net worth is believed to be around $50 million. But for many fans, his chilling performance as Sport remains unforgettable, a character who felt both real and terrifying. Albert Brooks, Tom. Before becoming a famous filmmaker and comedian, Albert Brooks had a small but memorable role in Taxi Driver. He played Tom, the energetic campaign worker who works alongside Betsy. Brooks was 29 years old when the film was made. His character appeared only briefly, yet he brought a natural charm and humor that balanced the darker tone of the movie. But here is what most viewers never noticed. Taxi Driver was actually Albert Brooks's first film role. At the time, he was known mainly for stand-up comedy and television appearances. Director Martin Scorsese believed Brooks had the perfect personality to represent the upbeat optimism of the political campaign world. What happened next changed everything. Brooks soon became one of the most creative voices in American comedy. He wrote and directed films such as Lost in America and Defending Your Life. But the real story is even more surprising. Years later, he became widely recognized by younger audiences as the voice of Marlin in the animated classic Finding Nemo. Today, Albert Brooks is in his 70s and continues to act and write. His estimated net worth is around $30 million. Now, his brief appearance in Taxi Driver may have been small, but it was the beginning of a long and fascinating career. Peter Boyle, Wizard. In Taxi Driver, Peter Boyle played Wizard, a fellow taxi driver who attempts to give Travis Bickle advice about life. Boyle was 40 years old at the time of filming. Wizard's scenes are short but meaningful. He tries to calm Travis and encourages him to relax and enjoy life. Yet his advice fails to reach Travis's troubled mind. And that quiet moment shows how isolated Travis really is. But here is what most people don't know. Peter Boyle had already gained attention for his performance in Joe, where he played a controversial and angry character. The role made him famous overnight. However, Boyle later stepped away from certain Hollywood projects because he felt uncomfortable with how violence was sometimes portrayed on screen. That decision slowed his career for a time. What happened next surprised everyone. But Boyle reinvented himself as a beloved comedic actor. He later appeared in the classic comedy Young Frankenstein, and many years later became a household name as Frank Barone in the television sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond. The real story is even more touching. Boyle remained close friends with Robert De Niro for decades after Taxi Driver. Peter Boyle sadly passed away in 2006 at the age of 71. His estimated net worth at the time was around $8 million. Yet his role as Wizard remains a small but powerful piece of Taxi Driver's emotional puzzle. Leonard Harris, Senator Charles Palantine. Leonard Harris played Senator Charles Palantine, the political candidate whose campaign becomes connected to Travis Bickle's growing obsession. Harris was 47 years old when the film was made. Unlike many of the other actors, he was not primarily known for acting. In fact, he was already a respected journalist and film critic. But here is what most people don't know. Harris had written books and worked as a cultural commentator long before appearing in Taxi Driver. Acting was almost a side career for him. His calm performance as Senator Palantine gave the film an important layer of realism. The character represented the hopeful political image of America during a turbulent time. What happened next surprised many fans. Harris continued working both in journalism and occasional acting roles. Then he appeared in a few more films, but never pursued acting as a full-time career. Leonard Harris passed away in 2001 at the age of 74. Though his role was not large, Senator Palantine became an important symbol in the story. A man representing the future of the country while Travis Bickle drifted further into darkness. Now, Diane Abbott, Concession Girl. When Diane Abbott appeared briefly in Taxi Driver, she played the young woman working at the adult theater concession stand. It was not a large role. Yet the scene became memorable because of the uncomfortable situation Travis Bickle creates when he brings Betsy to that theater. Abbott was 31 years old during filming. At the time, she was still building her acting career in New York. But there was another connection to the film that many viewers never realized. But here is what most people don't know. Diane Abbott was actually married to Robert De Niro during the early years of his rising career. Their relationship added a quiet, personal layer to the production of Taxi Driver. What happened next surprised many people. Abbott later appeared in several films throughout the late 1970s and 80s. One of her most notable performances came in New York, New York, another project directed by Martin Scorsese and starring De Niro. However, Abbott eventually stepped away from major Hollywood roles and focused more on family and smaller creative projects. Her marriage to De Niro ended in the late 1980s, but she remained respected in artistic circles and occasionally appeared in television and film. Today, Diane Abbott is in her 70s. While she never pursued the same level of fame as some of her co-stars, her presence in Taxi Driver remains part of the film's layered history. A small role, perhaps, but one connected to the larger story of the movie and the people who created it. Gino Ardito, officer at the rally. Gino Ardito appeared in Taxi Driver as one of the police officers at the political rally. It was a brief moment on screen, but it helped bring authenticity to the chaotic public scenes surrounding Senator Palantine's campaign. Ardito was in his mid-30s when the film was made, and unlike the main cast members, he was primarily a character actor and television performer who appeared in small roles across many productions during the 1970s. But the real story is even more surprising. Actors like Ardito played a crucial role in building the realism of films like Taxi Driver. New York City itself almost became a character in the movie. Background actors filled the streets and created the feeling of a living, restless city. Now, what happened next followed a familiar path for many working actors of that era. Ardito continued appearing in television series and films through the late 1970s and early 80s. He never became a household name, but remained part of the industry for many years. While detailed records of his later life remain limited, his contributions remind us of something important. Great films are not created by stars alone. They are built by dozens of performers who each add a small piece to the world of the story. And in Taxi Driver, that world felt frighteningly real. Victor Argo, Meliad. Another memorable supporting performer in Taxi Driver was Victor Argo, who played Melio, one of the men connected to the dangerous underworld surrounding Iris. Argo was 38 years old when he appeared in the film. His intense presence made even brief scenes feel unsettling. That raw energy made him perfect for gritty urban dramas. But here's what most people don't know. Victor Argo actually became one of the most recognizable New York character actors of the 1970s and 80s. His rugged face and natural intensity made him ideal for crime films. What happened next built an impressive career. Argo appeared in films such as The Last Temptation of Christ and King of New York, often portraying tough streetwise characters. The real story is even more surprising. Off-screen, Argo was also involved in activism and community work in New York. He supported artists and social causes throughout his life. Victor Argo continued acting for decades before sadly passing away in 2004 at the age of 65. While he was rarely the leading star, his performances gave authenticity to the gritty world of New York crime cinema. And in Taxi Driver, his presence helped make the city feel dangerous, unpredictable, and alive. Nearly 50 years after its release, Taxi Driver still feels hauntingly powerful. The film captured a moment in American history when cities felt restless and lonely, souls wandered through neon-lit nights. But the real story goes beyond the screen. Some actors became legends. Others quietly moved on with their lives. A few are no longer with us. Yet every one of them helped create a film that changed cinema forever. What happened next shocked everyone. Taxi Driver became one of the most studied films in movie history. Generations of filmmakers still analyze its storytelling and unforgettable performances. But perhaps its greatest legacy is the people behind it. Actors who poured pieces of themselves into a story about loneliness, hope, and redemption. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, share this video with someone who loves classic movies. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that never truly fade away.